One of the biggest myths about goal setting is that you need to go big to succeed. Shoot for the stars, they say. Go all in. But this mindset, while inspiring on the surface, often backfires. Huge goals can become intimidating. The moment you write them down, they can feel like a mountain too steep to climb. You decide, and here's the irony, it's not the size of the dream that defeats people. It's the gap between where they are and where they think they should be. Think about the last time you set a massive goal. Maybe it was launching a startup, losing 50 pounds, or writing a novel. You were excited at first. The vision was clear. But when the excitement wore off and you faced the everyday reality, the early mornings, the blank pages, the small but necessary choices, that's when things started to slip. Not because you didn't care, but because the leap felt too big. And when the leap feels too big, we stop jumping. This is why the smartest thing you can do isn't to make the goal bigger. It's to make the first step smaller. Break it down until it feels almost too easy. Want to start working out? Don't commit to an hour a day. Start with 10 minutes. Want to start reading more? Don't promise to read a book a week. Start with 5 pages. When you lower the barrier to entry, you remove the friction that kills momentum. The beauty of small goals is that they build trust with yourself. Every time you follow through, you're proving something. I show up. I follow through. I do what I said I would. That's not just behavior, it's identity. The real win isn't completing the goal. It's becoming the kind of person who honors their word, even in small things. Because that kind of person doesn't need motivation to act. They act because it's who they are. At the same time, while the goal gets smaller, your commitment needs to grow. And here's where most people miss the marking. They confuse low effort with low commitment. Doing something small doesn't mean doing it casually. It means doing it consistently, with care. Writing 100 words a day might sound easy. But doing it every day, even when you're tired, distracted, or uninspired, that takes real commitment. And commitment is what makes the small things powerful over time. Small, repeated actions are the foundation of everything that lasts. Look at anything meaningful. Healthy relationship, a thriving career, a strong body, and you'll see thousands of small, intentional steps behind it. Big change doesn't come from one huge leap. It comes from 1,000 small decisions, made with discipline and care. So instead of waiting for the perfect moment to take massive action, start now with something tiny and stick to it. This is also how you create momentum. When you complete a small task, your brain gets a reward. It sees progress. And progress, no matter how small, is motivating. It builds energy, not drains it. When you feel stuck or overwhelmed, go back to this truth: action creates clarity. And the easiest way to act is to lower the bar and raise your follow-through. Just move forward, even if it's only by an inch. So, if your goals have been feeling heavy lately, ask yourself, what's the smallest version of this that I can commit to daily? And then ask the more important question, am I willing to show up for this version with everything I've got? When you make the goal smaller and the commitment bigger, you flip the whole equation. Suddenly, progress becomes inevitable. Not because you're doing more, because you're doing what actually works. We live in a world obsessed with outcomes, the before and after photos, the number on the scale, the product launch, the promotion, the trophy. These are the moments we celebrate, the visible results. But here's the uncomfortable truth: focusing too much on the outcome can actually sabotage your progress. Why? Because the outcome is a lagging indicator. It's what happens after the work. And when we chase results, we often overlook the real path to achieving them, the process. The process is where everything meaningful happens. The early mornings, the hours no one sees, the tiny, unglamorous choices, like saying no to distractions, repeating a drill for the 100th time, or reviewing something you already think you know. These aren't dramatic moments, but they are the building blocks of excellence. And yet, because they're invisible and uncelebrated, they're often ignored or undervalued. Here's the truth: most people don't want to admit it. Focusing on outcomes creates pressure, while focusing on process builds power. When you measure yourself only by whether you've achieved the goal yet, every day you haven't is a day you feel like you're failing. That pressure leads to burnout, inconsistency, and even quitting. But when you measure yourself by whether you showed up and honored the process, you create a sustainable rhythm. And rhythm is stronger than bursts. Think about elite athletes. They don't become champions by waking up and thinking about gold medals every day. They think about form, reps, recovery, and timing. Their focus is on the craft, not the scoreboard. Because when you take care of the process, the outcome takes care of itself. This is true in everything: fitness, business, relationships, writing, leadership. The people who succeed are the ones who fall in love with the grind, not just the glory. What does it mean to fall in love with the process? It means you stop asking, how far am I from the goal? And start asking, did I give everything to today's task? It means you treat daily discipline as sacred, not optional. It means you track effort, not just results. Because effort is always within your control, outcomes are not. And when you focus on what you can control, you take your power back. This shift in focus also helps you stay grounded in your values. When you're obsessed with outcomes, it's easy to compromise, cut corners, take shortcuts, compare yourself constantly. But when your focus is on the process, your integrity stays intact. You don't rush, you don't fake it. You trust that doing it right over and over is what will create results that last. And more importantly, results you can be proud of. And here's something unexpected. When you focus on process over outcome, you actually journey more. Why? Because the reward isn't just at the end. It's built into the practice, the sense of progress, the confidence that comes from doing the work, the self-respect that comes from consistency. Suddenly, you're not just chasing a goal. You're becoming someone with standards, with grit, with purpose. So if you feel like your goals are slipping away or always just out of reach, ask yourself, am I obsessing over what I want, or am I showing up fully for the work that gets me there? If the answer is the former, shift your focus. Trust the process. Respect the process. Fall in love with the process. Because that's where the real transformation lies. Not in the finish line, but in every quiet, daily step that gets you closer. We like to think of success as a personal journey, something we conquer on our own through willpower, hustle, and grit. And while effort is absolutely essential, what we often overlook is the quiet power of environment. The truth is, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the strength of your systems. And one of the most powerful systems you can build is accountability. Accountability doesn't mean punishment. It doesn't mean guilt. It simply means you've designed a world around you that doesn't let you drift. That when your energy drops or your discipline weakens, which it will, there are forces outside of you gently pulling you back on track. It's not a crutch. It's a support system. A well-designed environment doesn't demand perfection. It encourages consistency. Think about how much easier it is to stick to a routine when someone's waiting on you. You're more likely to show up at the gym if you've committed to a workout partner. You're more likely to meet a deadline if someone expects your draft. That's not weakness. It's human nature. We are social creatures. We respond to expectations, especially those we've consciously agreed to. The smartest people don't rely on willpower. They outsource it to structure. So how do you build accountability into your environment? Start with people. Who in your life challenges you to be better? Not just when it's convenient, but when it's hard. Tell them your goal. Share your progress. Ask them to check in. And don't just choose cheerleaders. Choose people who will call you out, kindly, but clearly, when you're drifting. Accountability without honesty is just noise. Next, shape your physical environment to reflect your commitments. If you want to write every morning, make your workspace distraction-free. If you want to eat healthier, fill your fridge with what supports that goal. Don't rely on self-control to resist temptations. Remove them. Make the right choice, the easy choice. Your environment should reduce the number of decisions you have to make so your energy goes into execution, not resistance. Technology can help too, if used with intention. Set reminders. Use apps that track your habits. Block websites that drain your focus. Share your goals publicly if that motivates you. The point is to make your environment a partner in your progress, not an obstacle. Most people design their environment by accident. You need to do it on purpose. And here's something that often gets missed: accountability isn't just external. You can also be accountable to yourself. But it only works if you set clear, measurable expectations. Vague goals like get better at time management don't create internal pressure. But turn off my phone at 9 p.m. every night does. When you define what success looks like down to the daily behaviors, you give yourself a standard you can measure against. Ultimately, accountability isn't about control, it's about alignment. When your environment supports your identity, You act in harmony with your values. You don't have to constantly fight yourself to make the right decision. You just have to follow the path you've already designed. So build a world that reflects your intentions. Surround yourself with people and systems that remind you who you're becoming. Because when your environment works with you, not against you, progress stops being a struggle and starts becoming your default. There's a dangerous myth that quietly lives inside many high achievers, the belief that if it isn't perfect, it isn't worth doing. That if you miss a day, the streak is broken forever. That if your effort isn't flawless, your progress doesn't count. And that belief, the pursuit of perfection, is one of the fastest ways to burn out, stall, and eventually give up on your goals. Why? Because perfection is fragile. Consistency, on the other hand, is resilient. Perfection tells you there's one right way to succeed, that you must always be on, always strong, always motivated, always flawless. And the moment you aren't, when you sleep in, mess up, or fall short, you feel like a failure. Not just someone who missed a step, but someone who's broken the system entirely. That's not sustainable. It's not even human, because progress, real progress, includes missteps. Growth includes gaps. Discipline includes rest. Consistency is different. Consistency isn't about doing everything right. It's about showing up again and again, regardless of how messy or imperfect it feels. A consistent person knows that a missed day is not a sign to quit. It's just a pause. It's a comma in the sentence, not the period. Consistency gives you permission to be human while still holding you accountable to the work. And here's the irony: those who aim for consistency actually get closer to perfection than those who chase perfection itself. Because while the perfectionist is stuck resetting every time they stumble, the consistent person keeps building one imperfect brick at a time. Over weeks, months, and years, those bricks form something solid, something lasting. And when you look back, you'll realize you didn't need to be perfect. You just needed to keep going. This mindset also changes how you relate to failure. Instead of seeing mistakes as signs that you're not cut out for something, you begin to see them as part of the pattern. Part of the training. You stop fearing failure because you no longer believe that failure disqualifies you. And that belief, that you're allowed to stumble and still stay in the game, is what keeps people moving long after others have given up. Think about it like this: brushing your teeth once for 10 minutes doesn't make your teeth healthy. Brushing for 2 minutes twice a day does. Consistency compounds. Its power is in the accumulation of effort over time. And that accumulation is what creates transformation, not the bursts of intensity, but the quiet repetition of action. The people who win are rarely the ones who go the hardest. They're the ones who stay the longest. Consistency also requires a shift in how we measure success. Instead of asking, "Was today perfect?" ask, "Did I show up today?" Or even, "Did I do one small thing to move forward?" Some days the answer might be a powerful yes. Other days it might be a quiet whisper. But over time, those whispers grow louder. They build rhythm. And rhythm leads to results that no single perfect day ever could. So let go of the pressure to be flawless. Replace it with a commitment to return, again and again, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when you've fallen behind. The consistent person is not the one who never fails. It's the one who never quits. That's who you're becoming. Not someone who waits for the perfect day, but someone who keeps showing up on every day. So here's the challenge: stop chasing fleeting motivation and distant results. Instead, root yourself in purpose. Start small, commit deeply, and fall in love with the daily process. Design an environment that holds you accountable, and above all, embrace consistency over perfection. Because when you focus on these 5 things: intention, small goals with big commitment, process over outcome, accountability, and consistency, you don't just crush your goals, you become unstoppable. Remember, success isn't a moment in time. It's a habit, a mindset, a way of life. And the moment you decide to live this way, the only thing left is to keep showing up. Your goals aren't just dreams, they're your future calling. So start now. Focus on these 5 things and watch how everything changes. We all want to achieve something. Some of us want to build a business. Others want to run a marathon, write a book, get promoted, or simply become more present in our own lives. But goals, big or small, are only ever reached by the people who understand how to pursue them. So let's stop thinking only about the what and start focusing on the how. Today, I want to give you 5 things Just 5 things that will help you crush any goal. If you focus on these consistently, you won't just hit your goals. You'll become the kind of person who always moves forward, even when the path isn't clear. 1. Start with intention, not motivation. Motivation fades. Intention doesn't. Ask yourself, why does this matter to me? If your reason is strong enough, your discipline will grow roots. It's not about forcing yourself, it's about choosing your path every single day with purpose. 2. Make the goal smaller and the commitment bigger. Most people fail because their goals are too big and their commitment is too weak. Flip it. Make the goal so small it's impossible to ignore. Instead of write a book, start with write 100 words, and then show up for it every single day. That's how momentum is built. Small, committed steps. 3. Obsess over the process, not the outcome. You can't control when the goal is achieved, but you can control the habits that get you there. Champions aren't focused on the trophy. They're focused on the reps, the routines, the boring stuff. Success is found in the systems, so fall in love with the process. 4. Build accountability into your environment. Willpower is overrated. Environment wins every time. Set up reminders. Create routines. Surround yourself with people who expect your best. The right people won't let you quit on a bad day, and that could make all the difference. 5. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for consistency. You will miss a day. You will mess up. That's not failure, it's part of it. What matters most is what you do next. Perfection is a myth. Progress is a decision. And those who succeed aren't the ones who never fall, they're the ones who always get back up. Crushing your goals doesn't happen by luck. It's not magic. It's mindset, structure, and patience. Focus on these 5 things, not just once, but every day. Because the difference between those who dream and those who achieve is not talent, it's focus. Now, I will explain the points mentioned by Simon Sinek for better understanding. When we talk about achieving goals, people almost always start with motivation. That surge of excitement you get when you picture the end result. It's the thrill of imagining yourself crossing the finish line, receiving the applause, or launching the business. But here's the truth that often gets ignored. Motivation is temporary. It comes in waves, and when things get hard, and they will get hard, it disappears. You can't rely on motivation, but you can rely on intention. Intention is deeper. It's not about a quick high. It's about anchoring your actions to something meaningful, something that endures. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? Not the surface level answer, not to lose weight or to earn more. Go deeper. Why does that matter to you? What is the emotional core behind the goal? Maybe you want to be healthier because you want to live longer for your kids. Maybe you want to grow your business because you want to prove to yourself that your ideas are worthy. That's your intention. And that's where real discipline begins. When your actions are aligned with a deep intention, it's easier to stay the course. Not because it's easy, but because quitting starts to feel like a betrayal of your values. Discipline isn't about being tough. It's not gritting your teeth through pain every day. Discipline is doing what matters, even when it's uncomfortable, because you remember why it matters. The people who stay consistent aren't always the most motivated. They're the most connected to their purpose. Intention also creates clarity. If you don't know your why, you'll chase distractions disguised as progress. You'll jump from one idea to the next, always busy but never aligned. But when you operate from intention, you filter your actions. You can say no to the urgent in favor of the important. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do the things that honor your purpose. Let's say your goal is to write a book. If you only rely on motivation, you'll write when you're inspired. But if your intention is to share a story that could help others, or to express something that's been locked inside you for years, then showing up becomes an act of service. Not just a task, it becomes part of who you are. And that shift in identity is powerful. You don't write because you feel like it. You write because it's who you've decided to be. It's also what makes you resilient. Without intention, setbacks feel like signs to give up. But with intention, they feel like part of the process. If your goal is to run a marathon because you want to prove you're stronger than your past, then a bad training day doesn't derail you. It reminds you that growth has a cost, and you're willing to pay it. That's the difference between discipline and burnout. One is fueled by purpose, the other by pressure. And here's another thing: intention isn't static, it evolves. What matters to you at 25 might not be what matters to you at 40. So you have to revisit your intention regularly. Ask yourself, does this still align with who I want to be? Am I chasing a goal out of ego or out of meaning? That kind of self-honesty takes courage, but it keeps your journey authentic. And an authentic path is one you can walk for a long time. So before you map out your next step, before you buy the planner or download the productivity app, pause. Ask the deeper question, why this goal? Why now? Why me? Don't chase goals to impress others. Don't do it because someone said you should. Do it because it means something to you. That's where true, lasting discipline begins. With a clear, personal, deeply rooted intention.